when you look at the grand scheme of things, do you think that is an actual option for the Steelers? Do you say, no, you cannot do that, that's a bad move, or can you make it work somehow?
It's not a direction that I would be in favor of going, especially
Yeah.
in like round one. But I don't think we can rule it out for the Steelers. I mean, you look at the inside linebackers that they've taken just in recent years over the past, 8, 9, 10 years. They took Shazier in the middle of the first round, right around where they're picking this year, and they traded up for Devin Bush. So it's a position that historically, they valued Lawrence Timmons, former first round pick that was under Mike Tomlin as well. So,
Yep.
is it the direction that I would prefer them going? Absolutely not. But is it possible? Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's possible.
So what makes it doable? You know what I mean? Like, how far back can you drop if you're the Steelers? Like, if they selected somebody at 32, are you okay with that, or do you still think that's a bad move?
It would depend on who it is, but I mean, I would feel better about it than taking any of these guys at 17.
Yeah.
I think the best player that I've watched inside linebacker wise, of the guys that I think are going to get taken high, is Drew Sanders from Arkansas. Sanders is a former edge rusher, utility special teams guy at Alabama, transferred to Arkansas this past season. Sanders has incredible athleticism and pretty good processing for it being like really his only year playing like off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
I love the way he moves in space. Like he has a really good frame to him that could stand to add a lot more like muscle. I love what he offers as a pass rusher. He is a former like kind of edge guy, but Arkansas, they blitzed him a lot. They kind of lined him up all over the formation. He was able to, kind of create some havoc in that regard. He has some like legit pass rushing moves and some bend to him, which is rare for that position. The big holdup for me is right now, Sanders needs to get stronger and he needs to be able to take on blocks better at the point of attack and shed and not get like just swallowed up by offensive linemen. And probably not, I mean, not that it's not fixable, but he's an awful tackler. I mean, atrocious.
Wow, that's actually why is that? How is that not? How does that not just remove it? You're an inside linebacker.
It
You've one
can
job,
be
tackle.
fixed. It can be fixed. I've seen guys, improve their tackling over time. Some of that is just that, like his frame right now, I think they list him at like 230 pounds, but he's like 6'4", 6'5" is what they list him at. So it's kind of like thinner for a linebacker of that height. But guys just constantly just running through his arm tackles, like bouncing off of him, falling forward. So that's a little bit concerning on tape. But I mean, there's a lot of athletic traits to like. But if they took Sanders at 17, is that something where I'm going to be like doing jumping jacks? At this point, no, based on like the film that I've seen. Yeah. If people in the comments or, people watching this, if y'all have a tape that y'all think I should go take a look at, I watched 2 or 3 games already, but if y'all have a game that y'all liked, feel free to hit me with it. But I don't see like top 15 player in him just right now.
I mean, if you can't tackle, you're not a top 15 player. It's pretty point
It's
blank
tough.
there. I know. Isn't that the problem with Trenton Simpson too? Don't they? He's converted safety, so they say he can't really shed blocks.
So Simpson for me he's worse in the regard of terms of like block deconstruction. He is a total project there. I mean, I watched 2 more games over the weekend, and I mean, I don't know that I saw him get off a block and make a tackle, like make an actual stop. The athleticism, incredible. You mentioned like he's played a lot like in the overhang or like he's played a lot in the slot for Clemson. There's those Isaiah Simmons kind of comparisons with him and how well he moves in space. He covers a ton of ground, long strides. He has more, I think, experience in pass coverage than Sanders, although Sanders is fine there based on the couple games that I watched. It's just for Simpson, like I have a hard time getting on board with linebackers just because in recent years, this is something I learned through my own evaluation of my evaluations. When I have fallen in love with linebackers that struggle at the point of attack and can't shed blocks, I have gotten burned. So I stopped.
Yeah, like you write them off and they don't need to be written
No,
off.
as in like I used to like be a lot more
gotcha.
like when the NFL was moving to like these smaller, faster inside linebackers.
Yeah.
I felt like I started to value athletic traits and speed, athleticism, quickness, burst, um, explosion, like that type of stuff, like more because I thought that's where the NFL was kind of leaning. But then I watched like a bunch of guys get drafted early in the portions of the draft over the last like 4 or 5 years that can't get off blocks, and those guys just aren't valuable. They aren't as valuable as like we think that they should be. Like a good example of guys, um, that don't blow it up at the combine, but are still heck of a like inside linebackers are like the Chiefs backers, like Nick Bolton,
Yeah,
Willie
true,
Gay.
very true.
Both of
Both
those
middle
guys
round
didn't
picks.
test. They didn't test very well. They played maybe faster than they tested, but both of those guys can like legitimately play the run. And I think it's almost become an underrated, I think, trait for inside linebackers is like how will they take on blocks at the point of attack. Like, yeah, you want to keep them clean, but if you're consistently, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10 getting just swallowed up and you can't get off blocks, it's not that appealing to me, at least in terms of like taking a guy in the first round. It's just not
Yeah.
that appealing.
No, I mean, especially in this draft, and there's not like a ton of, oh my gosh, talent that's going to be there at 17, but I don't know. You can't block shit. I mean, you're coming off of Devin Bush, okay? So you're looking for two things. Can you play physical? But you can't do that if you can't shed blocks. And can you cover the pass? And apparently both of them could do that, but you got to do one trick pony. Who do you see Simpson and I guess Sanders? Like, do you have like NFL comparisons to these guys?
I don't personally. I try to stay. I know like the comps are everybody's like favorite thing. I
Yeah.
don't do a lot of comps. If I drop a comp, just know that I feel like extremely confident in the comparison. But I've seen Tremaine Edmonds stuff with Sanders. I don't know that I'm really 100% on board with that, but I could see a similar trajectory with Sanders where you have to be very intentional about the ways that you use him early, and there's probably going to be some growing pains in that regard with his development, but I think long term, he has the traits to develop into like a really impactful player, similar to how Edmonds was kind of for Buffalo the last like year and a half, 2 years.
That's so tough though, because the Steelers defense will talk all day and night about how they're ready now and how this is the defense and this is the team and let's go win in the next couple of years. And then to say, oh, okay, but we're going to use our first round pick on a guy that will be a development piece.
I think that's even tougher. Like I get it from your perspective, and like guys like in the locker room are obviously like they're in there to compete each and every year. I think it's tougher for fan bases. Fan
Yes.
bases love instant gratification with prospects,
Yeah,
and
dude. Do
they
you think
just
I'm talking
do
about the
not.
team? Screw the team. I
Yeah,
want me. I'm talking
yeah,
about
they
me.
don't have any type of patience in terms of like development. A good another like non Steelers related like topic, but this is something I was talking about with my buddy, who does Raiders stuff, and we were talking about Anthony Richardson. He was tweeting about it, and people in the fan base were saying like he's not ready. The accuracy is too big of a problem. He's a year away. We don't have time. Like, I don't want to waste time on this dude. And it's like, I told him, like, everybody wants the next Josh Allen. Like, you want the alien quarterbacks with the unbelievable traits, but until it's time to actually develop those guys, because Josh Allen didn't come in being Josh Allen. Like, you had to get him there. And like a lot of these guys that come in like that, like the reward is at the end, but you got to stick around through the process. And I see this all the time, with Steelers fans, especially fans that don't follow the draft super closely. So they're not really in tune with like what the rest of the league does or anything like that. I just think it's fool's gold. People expect guys to just come in and dominate year one, and like it just doesn't happen. Like more often than not, it does not happen. Even for like first round picks, you gotta require some patience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know how much patience I'm given, but I do agree with that. You got to stay calm. I think I did. I'm proud of myself this year with how I handled that stuff. Most years I'm pretty bad. You know me. But
I think we
I
can
could
all
see a
fall.
guy.
I think we all fall victim to it. I just think like
Yeah,
in
with these
general,
guys though, sometimes it's yeah. The upside is worth it. I know what you're saying, and
yeah,
maybe that is the truth. You know what I mean? And it's with 17, like that's a tough call because you got to look at it like most first round picks don't make it. Like
yeah,
like you have a much harder chance of finding a superstar in the first round than you do pretty much the rest of the draft, because at least that's what history has told us. So to send a guy and say, hey, look at, well, this guy's ready now. I don't know. A lot of the time, I mean, I think Van Der Esch out of Dallas, who's now a free agent, is a perfect example. That dude was supposed to be an instant star, like the best thing to ever touch the football field. And then when that didn't happen early, or like it did happen a little bit early, and then it kind of faded off and people completely wrote him off until this past year.